a game one, honestly, kind of disappointing performance. Well, not kind of, it was disappointing. Is Clayton Kershaw labeled a choker? Evan?
So, I always like making fun of the Dodgers because they have such a good system. They have all their guys in the minor leagues. They do really well in the minor leagues, and they spend. I don't think there's any other team in baseball that can actually say that. Like, there's the ones that buy crazy, like the Mets and the Yankees and all of them, right? And then there's the ones that develop great in the farms, like Cleveland with their pitchers, especially, but also the Dodgers. So it's so funny that they can't win in the playoffs ever. They never can win the playoffs. And no, this is not over. We'll get to that in a little bit. But with Clayton Kershaw specifically, you have the 2014 MVP as a pitcher. That's very impressive. 3 Cy Youngs, 10 All-Star appearances. I think he got his 10th this year. But in the playoffs, he's 13-11 and has a 4.5 ERA. That's not getting it done. First of all, that actually says more about the Dodgers, that they still, he still has a winning record. They carry through despite him sometimes, not because of Clayton Kershaw. And, you think back to all the games, 2013 versus the Cardinals in the NLCS, he blew up. 2016 versus the Cubs in the NLCS, he blew up. In the World Series against the Astros, a bad game. In the World Series against the Red Sox, a bad game. And then, of course, we had this weekend against the Diamondbacks, which honestly might have been the worst performance of them all. I think he gave up 5 runs before he got an out. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. I didn't actually watch this one. I watched the game 2. But with Clayton Kershaw, I think they're misusing him. I don't think he's a choker. He's definitely not clutch. I mean, you can't look at those numbers and say he's clutch. I think choker is reserved for specifically blowing something huge. But Kershaw just isn't good in this spot. It's like the same thing with a closer, like people say you can't make a reliever into a closer always. That's true. You got to have a certain amount of clutch. So it's not that he's a choker, like 28-3 for Jordan can tell you about that. That's choking. But this is just him saying he's not clutch. So what do I mean? What else they could have done? If you look at some of his postseason stats, where he only pitches 4 or 5 innings, he fares pretty well. Like if he's not the starter, or if he's later in the series, that also in the Houston World Series back in 2017, his first start was horrible. But later in the series, he got better. You have to use him right as a manager. So shout out Dave Roberts. You could have done a little more. So you got Bobby Miller. You even got Lance Lynn, who, yes, I know hasn't been as great, but he's still got experience. They should have stretched it out a little more, but that's just my take on it. Jake, you think Kershaw's a choker?
Yeah, I don't think Kershaw's a choker. I think you know, like I'm like Evan said, and I agree with him. Gabe Roberts could have used Kershaw better, and uh, game one was a disappointing performance for Clayton Kershaw. I don't think he's a choker, but I feel bad for him because I feel like this would be his last game in the MLB, and I feel bad for Kershaw on that. But nah, I don't see him as a choker. Gordon, what do you think?
He just had a
All
crazy.
right.
Hey, wait, really quick, Jordan. You think Kershaw's? What makes you think Kershaw is done? Just out of curiosity.
I think he's not gonna pitch again. I think his shoulder's bothering him. I think he's gonna retire after this year.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we've seen wilder things, but I don't know. I feel like after a start like that, it's gonna be like the Adam Wainwright effect, where I gotta have end on a happy note, right?
Yeah.
That's a reasonable take, though. I give you that, Jordan. What were you gonna say?
All right. I don't, to me, what a choker is looking at numbers, right? And Evan mentioned the 4.5 ERA for Clayton Kershaw in the postseason. That's not exactly reflective on Dave Roberts mismanaging him. That's reflected on Kershaw going out there and performing. So to me, he is a choker, actually. I know that he has a 2020 World Championship ring. Say what you want about that, but he's blown several games that I remember. Evan brought up the 2013 NLCS, 2016 NLCS, 2017 World Series, 2018 World Series against the Red Sox, if I'm not mistaken. 2019 game 5 against the Nationals, where he came in where the Dodgers had a 3-1 lead, gave up home runs to, I believe, Rendon and Soto, if I remember right. So we've seen this time and time again. I believe Clayton Kershaw is a choker.
Yeah, and so I agree with the beginning, but then I disagree. I agree that like the numbers don't lie. That's what you're telling me. And I fully agree with that. The numbers don't lie. But at that point, I think it is on the manager to put your guys in the right spot. I remember when the White Sox won the playoffs, we kind of, I think we started Lance Lynn game one, and people are like, Lance Lynn? Why are you starting him game one? You got Rodon, Giolito. Well, Lance Lynn has the experience. Lance Lynn has been good in the playoffs. That's why you do it. So I agree that the numbers don't lie. Maybe you do think he's a choker. But no, I don't think Dave Roberts has no responsibility for that. I think he does.